From MTN News, this is Montana This Morning.
Good Tuesday morning. It's 5:30. Welcome to Montana This Morning. I'm Victoria Hill. Thank you so much for getting your day started with us. And good morning to Ed, who is in for Miller today. How's it going out there, Ed?
Oh, it's kind of chilly to get things started, Victoria, but we're going to see a nice warm up by later into the week. We'll start off with a look with the Stockton Bank weather cam this morning. 61 was the high yesterday, but that was around midnight. The big story by yesterday afternoon was the wind. A top wind gust in Billings at 57 miles per hour. This morning it's a different situation, starting off at 23 degrees, so a much cooler start. All the wind is from Miles City up into the northeastern corner of the state, where the winds have become somewhat lighter across the rest of the region. So good news there, but temperatures are chilly into the teens and 20s all across Montana and northern Wyoming. 16 in Cody, 19 in Miles City. It's 21 in Sheridan and 23 in Livingston this morning, but those wind chill values only in the single digits above and below zero across northern Montana into North Dakota this morning. So look for temperatures today to stay fairly cool. We'll be looking at readings in the 30s to low 40s by later on in the afternoon, but a big warm up in store for us as we start getting into the next few days. I'll tell you all the details about that in just a little while.
All right, and Ed, we've come to the conclusion that Hollywood made up a story about your work schedule past couple days.
Yeah, well, things have been a little crazy because Miller hasn't been feeling well, so I've been kind of doing double duty.
You know what that movie was?
No.
The Never-Ending Story. Never-Ending Story. There you have it. Go take a nap. I'll get to news.
Okay.
Thanks, Ed.
Thanks.
We begin with crime news. A Billings man will appear in court today, nearly a month after police say he shot and killed a man in the Heights. 31-year-old Vidal Not Afraid Jr. is facing a charge of deliberate homicide and the death of 29-year-old Taryn Oldcrow. Court documents say an argument led to the shooting. Back on March 7th, Oldcrow was found with a gunshot wound to his torso on the 300 block of Sioux Lane. He later died. Prosecutors say Not Afraid fled the scene. Then on March 16th, Not Afraid led police on a chase and was able to get away. Last week, officers were able to corner him in an alley near South 33rd Street. Continuing our coverage, a high nitrate warning was reissued yesterday, reminding Warden and Ballantyne residents the tap water is still unsafe to drink. People living in these communities have been without drinkable water for over a year. Now officials say they're making progress on wells to provide a source of clean water. The Water Board has drilled 4 test wells. Officials say construction on the final well will begin once a permit process is complete. Montana lawmakers officially have a plan to spend billions in federal COVID relief money. As MTN's Jonathan and Berrien reports, a bill to appropriate those funds is on its way to the full House.
The House Appropriations Committee has spent the last 2 weeks in intensive work on House Bill 632. On Monday, they finalized the bill text that will be debated on the House floor. They've been rushing to get the bill through the House before a deadline next week.
632 is not perfect in its current form. It certainly has got a lot of the work we've done so far in it.
On Monday, committee members approved the updated text, then passed the bill on a 16-8 vote. Under the plan laid out in HB 632, the several $billion of federal relief and stimulus funds would be divided into 5 large sections: education, health, general infrastructure including water and sewer, broadband and other communications, and economic stabilization including housing assistance and workforce development. Each would receive hundreds of millions of dollars. For most of those sections, the bill would set up an advisory commission consisting of lawmakers and members chosen by the governor that would make recommendations on how the money should be used after the legislature adjourns. Supporters say this funding is an opportunity the state has to take.
We're going to do water projects in Circle and put shovels in the ground in Butte, America, and do workforce training in Helena and small business loans in Kalispell, and we're going to invest in Montana and the people of Montana.
Some committee members had concerns about how the money will be distributed, particularly a provision that would reduce the amount of some grants to local governments that have stricter COVID-19 protocols than the state.
Cities and counties are being extorted to take off their regulations. And the problem that I see with this is that we're not done yet.
But supporters of that provision said it was reasonable, especially going forward into the summer.
I find it ironic that There could be local governments that are imposing strict COVID protocol, which hurts the economy, which hurts the people, and now we want more tax money to bail that out.
House leadership wants to get HB 632 through the House before the Easter break, which starts on Friday. The bill is set for a preliminary vote in the House on Tuesday. In Helena, Jonathan Amberian, MTN.
Over in the state Senate, Republican lawmakers are working to reduce taxes and simplify them. A new 97-page bill would reduce the number of income tax brackets from 6 to 2. The top rate would be 6.5% for anyone making over $20,500 per year. Anyone making less would be taxed at 4.7%. The bill sponsor says it would reduce tax bills for Montanans by an average of $70 per person. Democrats think it's designed to help the rich.
This will just make things a little simpler for folks. It's going to save most people taxes and give us a little broader base and a fair tax system where we're not picking winners and losers with credits and deductions.
This continues to look like we're protecting a very few special interests, and we're not going to be looking at everyday Montanans and what is going to help them.
The proposal would get rid of at least 24 tax credits and deductions. Those include donations to Montana colleges, credits for first-time home buyers, and investments in renewable energy. And yesterday, a 144-page bill designed to implement recreational marijuana in the state was introduced. House Bill 701 proposes many changes to the voter initiative passed by Montanans last November. The big one, counties would have to approve the operation of any marijuana dispensaries within their borders. The bill will likely get a hearing sometime this week. Now checking out today's national news. The trial of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin is underway with tight security and the National Guard standing by. He faces murder and manslaughter charges in the death of George Floyd. Yesterday, both sides presented their opening arguments and the first witness took the stand. One of them was a 911 dispatcher who called a police sergeant after getting a gut feeling something wasn't right while watching the arrest on a surveillance camera. The trial is expected to last about a month. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is facing another accusation of sexual harassment. A woman says Governor Cuomo visited her home in 2017 to see flood damage. She says at one point the governor kissed her on the cheeks in a highly sexual manner. She says it bothered her so much she did not go with him while he toured the property, yet he made a point to come back and kiss her again. An attorney for Cuomo says the governor has greeted both men and women with a hug or kiss for the last 40 years. The Supreme Court will not force former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton to appear for a disposition in a case about her emails. A federal judge first ruled Clinton must appear for the deposition. A conservative group is seeking to publicly release emails from a private server Clinton used during former President Barack Obama's first term. The lawsuit is related to the 2012 attack on the U.S. consulate in Benghazi. In 2017, the State Department found there was no persuasive evidence of widespread mishandling of classified information involving her private server. Another big city convention center is opening its doors to migrant children as the crisis at the border continues. The San Antonio Freeman Expo Center is now the 6th emergency shelter housing kids. 500 teenage boys are currently being held there. The federal government says more than 13,000 migrant children are currently in shelters and emergency sites. An additional 5,700 children are being held in short-term Border Patrol facilities. The economic fallout from the giant container ship that was blocking the Suez Canal is far from over. Nearly $10 billion worth of goods was disrupted each day the Ever Given blocked the route. And the 420 ships delayed by the blockage not only carried cargo, but empty containers that allows ports to get cargo ready to ship. Experts say the Suez Canal delay means some ports will see a surge in arrivals and cargo while others see a slowdown. Prices on certain goods may increase within the next few weeks. In campus news, as we inch closer to graduation for the class of 2021, there have been questions about what the fall semester will look like at Montana's colleges and universities. As MTN's Matt Holzoffel tells us, requiring COVID-19 vaccines on campuses has been discussed, but no decisions have been made just yet.
At this point, we haven't made a decision. Last week, Rutgers University in New Jersey made headlines when they announced that all students returning to campus for the fall semester must be vaccinated against COVID-19. So we took this question to Montana school officials. Could we see a similar requirement here in the Treasure State?
Right now, I have to say our focus is on getting shots in arms of all the people who want the vaccine. And so we're not really thinking about the requirements.
The Montana University system is made up of over 15 campuses statewide. Brock says that some decisions will be made at the state level, while others can be left to the individual schools.
I think there'll be a lot of coordination, and within those parameters, campuses will have flexibility in certain ways. But we have taken a pretty coordinated approach, and I think it's worked out.
So the vaccine requirement question is still to be determined. But then there's the question of if colleges can even require students to be vaccinated.
Things like the MMR being a requirement right now. We have a process for that, as do we have a process for religious exemptions. So I presume those are the factors we will continue to take into consideration.
Both the state and the Montana University system have their own immunization requirements already, but it's likely that conversations about potentially adding the COVID-19 vaccine to that list will have to wait.
We'll dig into that exact topic and those finer details come May 3rd. But we're definitely following the recommendation of the CDC at this time.
Our Board of Regents and what we call the Healthy MUS Task Force are really setting the pace here. And the Board of Regents, they'll meet in May and they'll probably consider some strategies for moving through the summer and getting back to normal in the fall.
And nearly 182,000 Montanans are considered fully immunized against the COVID-19 virus, and more than 458,000 total doses have been administered. Across the U.S., 29% of people have had at least one shot. As a majority of Americans become eligible for the vaccine, there's a warning from health leaders that the nation could be on the brink of yet another wave. CBS's Naomi Ruckham shows us where cases are on the rise and positive news on the vaccine.
At a time when many states are lifting mask mandates and life is starting to return to normal, an emotional plea from the head of the CDC.
I'm speaking today not necessarily as your CDC director, and not only as your CDC director, but as a wife, as a mother, as a daughter, to ask you to just please hold on a little while longer.
Cases nationwide are up more than 10%. Hospitalizations are also on the rise. The fear that the U.S. will follow the trajectory in Europe, where cases are spiking and some hospitals are once again overwhelmed.
I'm going to reflect on the recurring feeling I have of impending doom.
New York and New Jersey are seeing the nation's fastest rise in cases of COVID-19. And while health officials warn a virus variant could fuel new outbreaks here, starting today, all New Yorkers aged 30 and up are eligible for the vaccine. The White House is hoping to get more Americans vaccinated by more than doubling the number of pharmacies offering the shot.
I'm directing my COVID team to ensure there is a vaccine site within 5 miles of 90% of all Americans by April the 19th.
The president is also asking states to reinforce mask mandates and pull back on reopenings.
If we let our guard down now, we could see a virus getting worse, not better.
43 states have allowed most or all businesses to reopen. Nearly 550,000 Americans have now died from the virus, and cases have surpassed 30 million. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News, New York.
The administration says they are leaving it up to the private sector to develop vaccine passports or proof of vaccination in order to resume some travel and other activities. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell is calling on Republican men to roll up their sleeves for a COVID-19 shot. The Republican from Kentucky says there is no good argument not to get the vaccination. This comes as numerous polls show a significant number of GOP voters are leery about the vaccine. Nearly half of the Republicans polled say they aren't interested in ever getting one. The CDC is extending the order to halt some evictions through June. The order has been extended twice already. The latest deadline was set to expire tomorrow. The CDC says evictions could hinder efforts to slow the spread of COVID-19, but landlords say the order puts the burden on property owners. There have already been several legal challenges to the CDC's moratorium. The Department of Justice is appealing a ruling from a federal judge in Texas stating the eviction ban is unconstitutional. And now Ed's here with another look at weather.
And we've got conditions that are going to be fairly pleasant by the time we get later into the week. Today, we start off kind of cool, and we'll still have some wind in the mix by the time we start getting into the afternoon. But it's still take a walk in the park day today. Maybe just a brisk walk would be the way to go.
I think that the past 3 days has not been a walk in the park for you, Ed. The never-ending story. This man has done our
that just scares me.
Weather reports since Sunday night. You've been the weatherman since Sunday, 5:30 and 10. And you went on to the Monday morning show, the noon show, 5:30, 9 and 10, and now you're here again. So if someone's visiting from out of town and watching, they're like, man, this TV station only has one weatherman, one meteorologist. You're the one for us for now until
I think everybody could take a break from me after a while.
I think you're going for a Guinness record, aren't you?
I think that's what, maybe we should just go for it, right? We'll just forge ahead.
Just keep going all week long. You do all the shows. Just do all the shows. You don't need any sleep.
Yeah, that's it. I'm a machine.
Rob Griggs always said you were a vampire.
Ready to go. Let's start off with the Stockton Bank weather cam here. 61 was the high yesterday. That was actually just as during the overnight hours. And then, of course, once we started getting into the day, it just got colder and colder, and the wind started to increase, 57 miles per hour. So now the temperatures have continued to drop. Ever since we hit that 61, we've been on this downward slide, and 23 right now at the airport. A little bit of a southwest wind to go along with it. Now, the winds are still strong in northeastern Montana. We get to you from Miles City towards the north. Wind gusts in Williston right now at 51 miles per hour. Jordan, Glendive also seeing some of those stronger winds, 35, 45 miles an hour. This could persist a little while today, but the winds have backed off considerably. Those usually windy areas, Livingston, you're less than 10 miles an hour. Great Falls, over towards Helena, very light winds. So while the winds have backed off for now, we'll look at the temperatures also being very chilly this morning, at least compared to where we have been. A lot of teens and 20s to get the morning started, and then factor in just that little bit of a wind. Suddenly it feels a lot colder. Single digits above and below zero, -4 for a wind chill in Glendive right now, and 7 below is what it feels like in Williston, North Dakota. And then teens, 20s, Cody, your wind chill value's only at 9 this morning. And we have these areas of light snow showers. Now the snow for the most part could be a little problematic around Great Falls, but otherwise we're looking at generally some light snow showers. Most of this right around the radar sites in Great Falls, Billings, and Glasgow, so they show up. Otherwise, there's not much for additional snowfall. The winds have backed off through the central portion of the state. We have some breezy periods. Most of the wind will be across the eastern plains, and we're only in the 30s and 40s today. But the warming temperatures continue to build in for today. Tomorrow, we'll see the temperatures take off. So the cool days today, warming tomorrow, continuing to warm up. This little ripple moves through and creates some wind Thursday into Friday, but by the end of the work week, we could be close to some record high temperatures. For today, we'll look for the eastern plains to be mainly in the 30s and 40s. Breezy periods, especially from Billings towards the east. Billings, we could still see a wind gust kicking up to around 40 miles an hour and sustained winds of maybe 50 to 25 miles per hour. In the extended outlook, 40s, 50s, then 60s to 70s. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we're within at least the neighborhood of record high temperatures. We've got more coming up.